So this is going to be our evening read aloud. It's called Discover Water by Nadia Higgins. And let's come along and let's discover water. We have our table of contents, which always tells us what we're going to be learning about. And it tells us the page that we can find it, right? So the first one is wet water. Drink it, spill it, splash it, spray it. Water is wet. It is liquid. It is fun to splash in water in a hot summer day. And that's exactly what we were talking about today when we were reviewing water, because this is what we've been talking about this last week, and this week we're going to be talking about it as well. So water, what do we do with water? How do we use it? We drink it. We splash in it. We use it when we shower, when we brush our teeth. Right? What else? And then I was asking you guys, how do we use water when it's on a hot day? We swim in it, right? So there's a lot of things that we do with water. Water is very important to us. Liquid water rains down from clouds. It rushes in rivers and fills lakes. Waters can be found deep underground. So we already know what lakes are. We know what rivers are. We defined these words last week. And we also know that water comes from the clouds, right? When it rains, and it comes down as rain, as snow. So we know this. Water can, oh wait, I already read that. It soaks deep into the ground. It swirls in oceans and crashes on shores. So water is also found above ground, right? So we talked about oceans too, and how oceans have salt water, which we cannot drink. Cold, hard ice. But liquid water changes. It gets cold, it freezes, and becomes hard ice. And this is what we were talking about today. We were talking about the three forms, right? It's superpower, because water has a superpower. It changes into two other states. The first one is liquid, which is the one that we know. This is the second one, when it turns into a solid. So when it's too cold, the water, right, the liquid, is going to get hard. It freezes and it's hard. So then it becomes a solid. So ice chunks float on a lake. These are the ice chunks that you see on the next page. It's basically just water that got frozen. A snowflake is made of ice. It is full of holes with little laces. When snowflakes pile up, they make white fluffy snow. So that's ice. So when we see snow in the winter time, it's solid. That's a solid. That's the solid form of water. Okay, then we have all this nice snow blankets on the ground. The coldest part of Earth are covered in sheets of ice, and these are called glaciers, which creep over land. This is giant ice chunks that float on the Arctic Ocean. But ice changes. It warms up, it melts back into liquid water. Okay, so when it's very warm outside, because sometimes in the winter we'll have sun, and it melts the snow, so it changes it into liquid water once again. Now there's something called invisible water vapor. Now this is the third form that we see water in. So water vapor, we see it's a gas. Okay, so water is a gas. If it's warm, if water warms up enough, it changes another way. It breaks up into bits too tiny to see. We do not see this. We don't see gases. We don't see water vapor. They float away. They become water vapor. Water vapor is part of invisible air. So clothes dry because water has turned into water vapor. And that's true. So if we ever put something, our clothes is usually, like if it's wet, right? Something that we don't want to dry in the washing machine and the dryer, we hang it up in a clothesline, and it's wet. By the next day or a couple of hours later, we see that our shirt is now completely dry. So that means that the water that shirt had is now in the air, because now it turned into a gas. It's water vapor. Okay? But then water vapor changes. It cools down and it forms tiny drops of liquid water. So this is what we were talking about, fog. So fog is like a cloud that is very close to the ground, okay? So fog is also water vapor. It's a gas. The drops may form clouds in the sky or fog over land, or dew that coats the grass in the morning. So dew is also that form, right? It sparkles in the sunlight. Amazing water. Most of what Earth is covered by water, and this is what we've been talking about all week. Our Earth is mostly water, and it's a good thing too. So the blue areas on Earth are the oceans. Plants suck up water with their tiny roots. Remember when we talked about the plants? We were talking about our unit on plants and the plant life cycle, and then we were talking about the plant parts. So the roots that are underground are the ones that are sucking up all of the water, so that way our plants can grow, right? So these tiny roots are these thirsty roots are going to suck up all the water. People and animals slurp it up too. So even living things need water to stay alive. All living things. Every living thing needs water to stay alive. Think of all the ways you use water: for drinking, for cooking, for washing, for flushing, and water never runs out. It keeps changing among the three forms. So these are the three forms that we've been talking about. The superpower. This is the water superpower. So water vapor is a gas and it's part of invisible air. Water is a liquid, it's wet. Ice is a solid, it is cold and hard. So these are the three forms of water. It's the water superpower because it can change in all of these forms, okay? And you can think of all of these ways. We use water every day and we're using it for everything. So how, right? But sometime this week we're going to be learning about the water cycle. So that's very important too. Now we have our glossary. As always, we're going to define these words. It says dew. So dew are tiny drops of water. They cover grass, cars, and other outdoor things on a cool morning. Fog is like a cloud that is near the ground. So fog is the mass of tiny water droplets. Glaciers are huge frozen rivers of ice. Liquid is something that's wet that you can pour. Water is a liquid. And water vapor is made of tiny floating bits of water. Water vapor is part of invisible air. And we're going to continue to be learning about all of these forms, the water's superpower. Okay? And that is the end of our reading today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will be posting up more material tomorrow because we're still going to review a little bit on this before we can start on Wednesday on water cycle. Alrighty, so take care, enjoy, have a wonderful afternoon, evening, and a wonderful night, boys and girls.